All right, today we are diving into Osaka, Japan to check out two spots that honestly feel like they're on different planets, but they're right next to each other. We're going to uncover this really surprising link between Japan's ancient soul and its super modern, vibrant pulse. Okay, let's get into it. So on one side, you have Nara, the birthplace of ancient Japanese civilization. We're talking peaceful temples, sacred traditions, the whole deal. And on the other, you've got America-mura, this chaotic, super colorful explosion of modern youth culture. I mean, they couldn't seem more different, right? So how in the world could these two places have anything in common? Well, that's the puzzle we're going to solve today. First up, let's take a trip back in time to Nara. And listen, this isn't just some old city. This place is so important historically and spiritually. It's really the foundation of ancient Japan. And you can really see just how deep these roots go when you look at this timeline. Way back in 710 AD, this became Japan's first ever permanent capital city, designed to rival the great Chinese capital of Chang'an. Then, just over 40 years later, they completed this massive monumental temple. And fast forward a bit, in 1998, its global importance was locked in when it became a UNESCO World Heritage Site. Now, get this. The scale of this place is just mind-blowing. To build the Toldaiji Temple and its great Buddha, it took an estimated 2.6 million people. At the time, that was more than half of the entire country's population. This wasn't just a construction project. This was an entire nation coming together to build its identity. And you really can't talk about Nara without talking about the deer. I mean, they're everywhere. But they're not just cute animals. They are a huge part of the city's identity. In the Shinto faith, these deer, all 1,000+ of them, are seen as sacred messengers from the gods. They just roam free, a living symbol of that deep spiritual bond between nature and the divine. Okay, now let's hit the fast forward button about 1,300 years and jump to a totally different vibe in Osaka. America-mura, which literally means American village. If Nara is the calm, sacred past, America-mura is the loud, creative, and constantly shifting present. And this place didn't just pop up out of nowhere. It started back in the 70s as the go-to spot for cool imported stuff from America, like jeans and vinyl records. By the 90s, it was a full-on cultural melting pot of music and street style. And now, Gen Z has taken it over, turning it into a stage for activism, using everything from street art to social media to talk about big issues like sustainability. So what does it actually feel like to be in America-mura? It's a total sensory overload, but in the best possible way. We're talking vibrant graffiti everywhere, a huge secondhand scene where vintage is everything, and this constant pulse of new fashion and music. It's really just a space made for you to express yourself, where being different is kind of the whole point. Okay, so we've got our two main characters, ancient, holy Nara, and modern, rebellious America-mura. But this is where the story takes a twist, because despite all their differences, they're both starting to feel the squeeze from the exact same modern-day problems. It seems wild, right? I mean, what kind of problem could a 1,300-year-old capital city and a 50-year-old fashion district possibly have in common? Let's break it down. So, the first big problem, it's a word you've probably heard a lot lately, over-tourism. It's what happens when a place just gets loved to death, when the sheer number of visitors starts to cause real headaches for the environment and for the people who actually live there. And the effect on Nara is pretty shocking. Take its sacred deer. They're actually changing how they behave. During the pandemic, when the tourists were gone, they went back to foraging naturally and their health got better. Now, with tourism booming again, they're getting hooked on crackers from tourists and sometimes they get aggressive about it. The very thing that makes them so special is being put at risk. Now, the flip side of that coin in America-mura is commercialization. This is what happens when that authentic, independent vibe of a place gets pushed out by big-name brands and fast fashion, all just trying to make a quick buck. The original, cool culture that made the place a destination in the first place, it starts to fade away. And this is where it all clicks into place. You've got Nara with its ancient traditions facing the huge challenge of over-tourism, which is damaging its heritage and messing with its ecology. Then you have Amerikamura, with its street art culture, facing commercialization, which threatens its authenticity and creates a ton of waste. You can see they're both struggling with issues tied to the UN's Sustainable Development Goals. For cities, for consumption, for the environment, two totally different worlds facing one fundamental struggle.
So, to be really clear about it, in Nara, all those millions of footsteps are literally wearing down priceless ancient sites. And as we saw, it's messing up the ecosystem that makes Nara Park so incredibly unique.
And over in America, Munkra, that raw creative spark is in danger. You know, the small, quirky thrift shops are getting squeezed out by big commercial chains. And the huge crowds that come for that vibe are leaving a massive trash problem in their wake.
So is it all just doom and gloom? No, not at all. Actually, recognizing the problem is the most important first step. So now, let's talk about how we can approach these amazing places with a bit more purpose and be part of the solution.
A great way to start is just by getting the backstory. You know, a visit to a place like the Osaka Museum of History isn't just some boring detour. It actually connects you to the deep, long history of the city, all the way from its ancient palaces to its modern self. It shows you exactly what's at stake and why it's so important to protect it. A pretty useful toolkit for thinking about this stuff comes from the UN's Sustainable Development Goals, or SDGs. They're basically a global game plan for a better future. And for us travelers, focusing on just a few key goals like sustainable cities, responsible consumption, and protecting life on land gives us a really powerful way to make better choices. So what can we actually do? Well, it boils down to 4 pretty simple but powerful steps. First, take a minute to understand the history. Second, embrace that secondhand culture you find in places like Amerikamura. It's cool and it cuts down on waste. Third, and this is a big one, respect local life, both the people and the animals. And finally, try to support local businesses, the small shops, instead of just the giant chains. These little things really do add up to a huge positive impact.
Which really leaves us with the big question here. This isn't about not traveling. It's about changing how we travel. How do we find that perfect balance between the pure joy of discovering a new place and our very real responsibility to make sure these incredible places, from ancient Nara to modern Amerikamura, are still around for the next generation to fall in love with? That's something worth thinking about. Thanks for tuning in.